I'm Mark Matsumoto, and welcome to my Japanese kitchen. I was in Okinawa last week exploring the local ingredients and food culture, and the vibrant colors and novel textures felt pretty magical. There's a lot I want to share with you from the trip, but today I want to show you how to make this. It's an Okinawan brown sugar donut called Sata Andagi, and it's cookie crisp on the outside and soft and fluffy on the inside. So let's start with a look at our ingredients. The star of this dish is this. It's an unrefined brown sugar called kokutou, and it usually comes in blocks. I'm using one that's been ground into a powder, which makes it easier to use, but you can also do it yourself using a grater or food processor. To make the andagi dough, I'm using 225 grams of cake flour, 5 grams of baking powder, a pinch of salt, 120 grams of powdered kokutou, 100 grams of egg, and 1 tablespoon of vegetable oil. You'll also need some oil for frying. To make the dough, I'm gonna start by sifting the cake flour, baking powder, and salt together. Cake flour is ground finer and has a lower protein content, which will make for a lighter and more tender donut. The thing is, the finer particle size gives it a tendency to clump up, which is why you always want to sift it first. Once it's all sifted, give it a whisk to evenly distribute the salt and baking powder. For the wet ingredients, I'm going to add the kokutou, eggs, and vegetable oil to a bowl and whisk the mixture together until there are no large clumps of sugar. Eggs come in all different sizes, so it's really important to weigh them after you've cracked them into a bowl, or your dough might end up too soft and sticky to handle. By the way, I'm deliberately leaving some pea-sized pieces of kokutou in this mixture, and I'll show you why later. Okay, this is looking good, so I'm just gonna dump this into the dry ingredients. And then I'm gonna use a firm spatula to fold the dough together. The flour will tend to fall towards the edges of the bowl, so you want to work your spatula around the side of the bowl and then fold the flour into the wet part in the center. The goal here is to get rid of any dry spots in as few strokes as possible. Overmixing the dough will make your Sata Andagi tough, so be careful not to overdo it. You should end up with a soft dough that looks like this. Now I'm gonna cover this up and let it rest at room temperature for 20 minutes. While we wait for our andagi dough to rest, I want to take a moment to thank all of you who've signed up for my weekly recipes over at marksrecipes.com. It's a member-supported site, so there are no ads, and it lets me share lesser-known regional dishes like this somen champuru that I learned how to make in Okinawa. There's a rotating collection of free recipes to preview, so if you're not a member yet, head over and check them out. Alright, let's fry up our Okinawan donuts. To fry these, I'm adding 1.5 inches of vegetable oil to a heavy bottomed pot, and I'm gonna preheat it to 340 degrees Fahrenheit or 170 Celsius. Next, I'm gonna line a cooling rack with a triple layer of paper towels. Finally, I'm going to prepare a baking sheet or tray by lining it with parchment paper. This will prevent our little balls of dough from sticking as we shape them. Alright, our dough's done resting, so let's shape them into balls. This dough is pretty soft, so it's important to give your hands a generous coating of oil, or your dough's going to stick to them and make a mess. Your hands should be really shiny. Now I'm going to use a spatula to scoop up a lump of dough that's about the size of a ping pong ball. Then you want to use your hands to roll it into a ball. Repeat this with the rest of the dough, and be sure to keep your hands well oiled. There should be enough dough to make about 14 Sata Andagi. As you can see, the dough is so soft, it tends to settle, so you'll want to roll each piece again before you add it to the preheated oil. These Okinawan donuts are going to double in size, so don't overcrowd the pot. Once they float to the surface, you'll want to roll them around every half minute or so to ensure they cook through evenly. I like my Sata Andagi to be super crisp on the outside, so I usually fry them for about 5 to 6 minutes. They'll crack open as the dough expands, but this is totally normal and it's actually desirable because it gives the donuts more surface area to crisp up. Once they've reached a beautiful golden brown color like this, transfer them to your prepared cooling rack to drain. Unlike most fried dishes, you really want to let these cool completely or they're not going to reach their maximum crispness. Just look at how beautiful these are. And you remember those pea-sized lumps of kokutou we left? They create little pockets of caramelized brown sugar, which makes these even better. Alright, let's see how these look on the inside. Crispy on the outside and soft and tender in the center. To serve these, stack them up on a plate lined with a piece of paper to soak up any excess oil. And our Sata Andagi are ready to eat. These look so crispy and good. Let's try them out. Itadakimasu. Okay, look at that. I don't know if you can hear that, but it's super crispy. It's cookie crisp on the outside and soft and pillowy in the center. And it's got that wonderful earthy flavor with just a hint of grassiness from that kokutou or the brown sugar. And the balance of those eggs with the oil makes them super rich and almost creamy. These Sata Andagi go super well with some coffee, so let's try it out. Now that's just on another level. These Sata Andagi are super easy to make, and they're ridiculously good, so I hope you'll give them a try. Well, I think I need to go burn off a few calories, but check out this playlist for other delicious Japanese sweets, and I'll catch you in the next one.